All right, welcome to the first episode of Choose Inclusion after the election. As many of you probably know, we're kind of still right in the middle of it. And so what's cool though is we're very excited to connect with our guest today on this Black Voices Matter series. But first, let me say hi to Nina and Mike. Hello, how are you guys doing right now in the middle of everything?
Doing okay. Trying to keep sane.
Yeah, I did kind of a Harry Potter fest last night because I was so anxious for the results. So that's telling you where my mental state is.
Right, right. No, I hear you. I mean, talk about stress. Because like later into the evening, it wasn't, it didn't look like it was going so well. So my wife and I switched the channel over to watch Dexter instead, which actually made me feel better. The story of a lovable serial killer somehow made me feel better so I could go sleep.
Wow.
And yeah, right. Like, just insane. So, we're excited because Judge Carlos Moore is here with us. And it's really, I think, just such an appropriate way to come into today after the election. Judge Carlos Moore is the first Black man to ever sit as a city judge in Grenada, Mississippi. He's also president-elect for the National Bar Association. And there's so many more, just things related to Judge Moore that we'll get into. But first of all, how are you doing right now, Judge Moore?
I'm great. I am great. I'm cautiously optimistic about the things ahead, and it's just a great day to be an American.
I love hearing your optimism, Judge. I want to jump right in because I saw a post that you did on LinkedIn that we just learned went viral. I thought it was fantastic and just a in your view, maybe it wasn't such a you're like, this is just what I do, but I'd love for you to talk a little bit about the post and kind of your approach to young people as you see them in court.
Yeah, gladly, Mike. Thanks for the question. As you know, I'm a municipal judge, and so I deal with a lot of traffic infractions, misdemeanors, first appearances for felonies, preliminary hearings for felonies. And so last week I was on the bench last Tuesday, and two young people appeared before me. One was 17, one was 18. And so the young lady had a pretty much perfect record other than the speeding ticket that she received. And so I told her that I would give her a break. I asked her, had she registered to vote? She said yes. I told her that if she brought me back proof this week, yesterday, that she voted, or wrote me a 500-page essay on the importance of voting, I would give her a break. And so she came by City Hall yesterday, and she had a vote. I voted sticker on, and so we're happy about that. And then I actually canceled court yesterday, so she went by and saw my clerk, and we're going to have her to present the essay next week when we're on the bench. She'll bring by the essay, and she won't have to pay those several $100s.
So she voted and wrote the 500-word essay?
She's doing both, yes. And
wow.
So she's just excited. This is her first time voting, and I believe she'll be a lifetime voter. So hopefully she can encourage her comrades, other 18-year-olds or other teenagers that's approaching the age to vote or already old enough that they'll be able to vote in the next and future elections. And so we were happy to just make it a teachable moment for her. I could have just done a non-adjudication just because it was her first offense, but I wanted to make it a teachable moment for her and encourage her to do something to exercise her civic duty. And then the young man, 17 years of age, so she was 18, then the young man came up. He was driving without proof of insurance, and that ticket was going to be almost $1,000. I think he may have had something else, but he didn't have anything else on his record otherwise. And so I told him, I asked him how his grades were, and his mother was standing with him, and they told me the grades were good. I said, but what's good? They told me he made A's, B's, and some C's. And so what I told him is, he brought up one of those C's, brought me the current report card showing he has C's, and then the next report card showing where he brought up at least one C to a B, I would give him a break and do a non-adjudication on his ticket. And so he's excited, his mom's excited. They were just thrilled, never heard of anything like that. I saw them on Facebook, they made a post and say, he's telling the truth. He did this in court, and we're excited that my son, he's gonna bring the grade up. And the guy, I saw his post, he said, I'm gonna bring the grade up. He's just appreciative of having the opportunity. So sometimes you have to think outside the box. And so I just want to encourage young people to be their best, do their best, to be full active participants, citizens in this country, and always put their best foot forward. And so hopefully that will encourage not only them, but encourage even other judges not to be so punitive all the time with young people, but to give them a second chance.
That's amazing. And I mean, I can see why this tweet went viral, or it wasn't just a tweet, this LinkedIn post and Facebook post went viral. It was on the front page of Reddit. You said there's already 6 million views of that post on one of the social media accounts. But I was wondering if you could talk to us a little bit more about alternative sentencing. I feel like that's something that, we're not really aware of as an opportunity in the justice system. And, what exactly is it? Why is that important?
People fail to realize that judges are not robots. We have a lot of discretion. I know in the federal level, in some states, they have mandatory minimum sentencing, but on city court levels, a lot of the times there's no mandatory minimum. So you have a free range to do a lot of things. You have the caps at the top end telling what's the maximum thing you can do, the maximum fine, the maximum sentence you can give someone in jail. But on the bottom end, there's no minimum a lot of the time. So I'm free to find them and put them in jail. I could withhold adjudication. I can make them do an essay. I could send them to community service, send them to anger management. I can be very creative. And with young people, I exercise even more latitude and try to think of something that fits the situation or may fit the young person that's particularly before me. If they're in college or they're in high school and trying to make something out of their lives, I'm more likely to be lenient than someone that's a repeat offender. Even first offense marijuana charges. I mean, even though marijuana is still a crime in Mississippi, simple possession, a lot of the times if this is their first offense, my track record has been I don't even find them. I give them a non-adjudication, because to me it makes no sense for half of the country to be making money off of marijuana, then the other half going to jail or paying extensive fines for possessing it and just smoking it for recreational use. And so I just try to use common sense. I often pray, like Solomon did, for the wisdom to make wise decisions.
I love hearing that, Judge. I got to tell you, I want to go right from there to, full disclosure. Any of our listeners who have listened for a while, I'm absolutely the least educated on this amazing podcast, and certainly with you on here. But I learned something that I'm embarrassed to say that I just learned with our pre-call, and that was about the Voting Act, and that really just kind of like that just it blew me away that this is still like in practice today. Can you please talk to, and hopefully I'm not the only listener who this was news to. Can you please go through this, and more importantly, what are you going to do as you go from chair-elect to chair to eradicate this and make that difference?
Well, the Voting Rights Act was passed in 1965, and it was one of the greatest pieces of legislation to affect African Americans in this country. Before that, we had so many impediments to voting and so many intimidating tactics, voting suppression efforts to try to keep Black people from the polls. I mean, we were killed, lynched, threatened, jobs threatened, all type of things. But the Voting Rights Act gave some semblance of normalcy, and after that we started voting in droves and started winning office in this country. And so, but it has to be reauthorized every 10 years. And so it seems that for most other pieces of legislation in this country, once it's enacted until further notice. But for some reason, there's a special provision that requires the Voting Rights Act to be reauthorized every 10 years. I don't know if they're thinking, or the leaders thought that there would come a point where we didn't need the Voting Rights Act because we would have a level playing field. But I'm here to tell you that definitely, as you can see in this year's election, there is still no level playing field. The Voting Rights Act is still very much needed, and it is a good piece of legislation, and it needs to be put out there with no end date, and we're always going to need those protections to make sure that we have that the principle of one person, one vote is always sacrosanct and is always equally applied. And so when I become president of the National Bar Association, one of the things I'm going to do is to push the John Lewis Voting Rights Act successful passage through the Senate. It's already passed the House, but it's bottled up. It's met a bottleneck in the Senate. So we need to get out of the Senate into the president for a signature. And I think that will do the trick.
No matter the outcome, I guess, of the election, so in order for that process to be successful that you just talked about, do you need a certain type of leader in the White House, for that? Or given the two options right now, would you feel like you had an equal chance to get that passed no matter who was in there?
I think it's more probable that it passes. I think it's more probable that President Biden would sign it. I think it's possible that President Trump would sign it, but it's probable that President Biden would sign it.
Yeah, because I know that the current president has, I think, there has been, I think, some movement we've seen in terms of, the Black community, for example, and I can't think of the word now, but as far as things happening with Black people in prison, and so I feel like there's been movement in a good way, and I think this is one of those things, those causes that, that it's hard to play politics on that one, but also we're also kind of seeing what's happening right now with the current administration using legislation to try to stop a potential outcome. What are your thoughts on that and what's happening today?
Yeah, there have been so many voter suppression efforts and vehicles disbanded this year by the powers that be that it's just been mind-boggling. We're the greatest country in the world, and to see a democracy or republic as ours show signs of pseudo dictatorship and tyranny and authoritarianism it's just shocking to the conscience. I never would have thought in my wildest dreams that America would be doing some of the things that we're doing with our voting rights in elections. But there have been so many efforts to put out misinformation and to use the court system to almost steal an election. And so they're trying to pack the courts with people that would just rule a certain way no matter what. And it's just mind-boggling. And so we're hoping that for a better day.
Now,
so in addition to the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, are there other pieces of legislation that you or any kind of policy advocacy you're going to be doing as part of being the president of the National Bar Association?
Yes, I'll also be supporting the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. That passed the House, but it's locked up, or so it's chewing a bottleneck in the Senate. And so it's just sitting there, but we're going to try to seek passage of that through the Senate so it can get to the president as well. That's very important. I've been a civil rights lawyer for 14 of my 18 years of practice, and I've handled tons of police brutality cases, excessive force cases. We have a serious problem in this country, and we have to get a handle on it sooner than later. And so that's going to be one of my top priorities, is to try to seek the passage of the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. I'm also going to be a strong advocate for reparations. I think it's high time that we have reparations in this country. You may have seen last evening, the Mississippi flag. The citizens finally voted for a new flag after 126 years with the Confederate emblem as our state flag. In our state flag, we now have a new day. And I was a leading proponent, even filed a federal lawsuit against our governor about the former flag, because I saw and desired a better day. And I believe that after 400 years of slavery and not being remunerated for the free labor that we gave, it's high time that we get reparations. And so there cannot really be true atonement. I think reparations will be the true atonement in this country that will allow us to reconcile and move forward together as one nation. But you cannot just trample upon somebody and just say, I'm sorry. I mean, the Jews, the Japanese, they all got reparations. So I don't see why African Americans should not get reparations for building this country.
Wow. I love the big picture thinking that you come to the program with, Judge Moore. I really appreciate this. So our Choose Inclusion podcast, so many times we're talking to leaders about how to make changes within specific ecosystems. We've already talked a lot about, here's legislation that's doing X, Y, and Z. What about kind of the legal industry as a whole, or what you know of it? Like how inclusive of an industry is the legal industry?
The legal industry is still one of the most segregated professions, learned professions in the country. Less than 5% of all lawyers in this country are African American. And so, we have 13% of the population. And so it's not even half of our numbers in the general population. So we have a lot of work to do. I'll be working as president of the National Bar to expand and diversify the pipeline and to make sure that we make partners at some of the top 100 law firms, and that we get some of the judgeships. I don't believe in the last 4 years there have been many African Americans appointed to the federal bench, which are lifetime appointments in very important positions, and we're well capable of giving the opportunity. And so we'll be trying to expand the pipeline, expand the number of African Americans in law school that become lawyers and judges. And we'll also try to expand the number of Fortune 500 corporations that demand that some of these law firms have African American talent on the legal teams. And if they want that business from the big corporations, they're going to have to prove that they have some African Americans on the team. And that's going to be my desire. That's what I want to see to bring forth.
Well, so you have no ambitious goals whatsoever over the next few years. Then that's what you're telling us, Judge.
Yeah, what I go after, I go after, and come hell or high water, I'm going to fight to the end. It was a 4-year battle between 2016 and 2020 when that flag came down, but it's down now, and I always envision a better day for my daughter, and so that's why I do a lot of things I do. She just turned 10 last month, and so I'm intent on making this a better state and ultimately a better country for her, and succeeding generational moors and those like situated. And so if not us, who's going to do it? And so God's equipped me with certain talents. I'm not shy. I don't have a shy bone in my body, and I'm not short on ambition, and I'm a man full of faith. And I believe if you get up and you believe in something, you go after it, you can achieve it.
Yeah, I think you just left all of us speechless, because we all aim to be what you are embodying, Judge Carlos. So I don't know what to say. UV Mike.
Well,
usually,
was it so? Did you say it was your daughter's? Did you say it was your daughter's birthday last night?
Last month.
Yes. Last month. Okay.
Yes.
I was like, oh. I hope. Well, happy birthday to your daughter, first of all. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I just, everything you're doing is it's how do you, what do you tell people? Because it's a fight, right? Like you just said, the flag itself took 4 years in Mississippi. What do you tell people when, who are tired and, who've been fighting this fight for way longer than anybody in America's from the white population could even understand? Like, how do you tell people to keep fighting? What are words of inspiration that you provide them to keep up that fight?
Yeah, I just tell them to take it one day at a time and be willing to run your leg of the race. My leg of the race was 4 years in 2016 to 2020, but there were others that came before me that fought long and hard before I did to try to get that flag down. As I said, it was up for 126 years, and I know all of my lifetime others have been fighting to take that flag down. So it's a relay race. And we all have to be able to do our part and run our leg of the race. And if we never give up, we'll eventually win. And so while the lawsuit in itself was not successful, it was a federal lawsuit that went all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. By raising the profile and taking it up and everyone watching it from across the country, and then others joining on the bandwagon, that chorus got louder and louder and is down today. And so the moral victory won, because we had always encouraged, I said, I'm going to file this lawsuit, but I'm always going to encourage the governor and the state legislature to change the flag. And ultimately, that's what happened. And so you just never know. I say the squeaky wheel gets the oil. It seems almost impossible. If we've been over here 400 years and had got reparations, that we probably won't get it. But I believe in seeing the glass half full instead of half empty. And I do believe if you get up and fight for something, I mean, and there's a chorus of people now saying that we deserve reparations. And if we can get all that stimulus money for coronavirus pandemic, and they did that at a drop of a dime, they can pay us these reparations because it's rightly. And there's different ways to pay it. You can do it through federal government, state government, educational institutions, corporations. There are so many people that have benefited from the free labor that my ancestors provided. So I think it's going to be a collective approach to getting the reparations. And I think that will go so far in making this the country great again. I mean, some people think it became great again under Trump, but I think it really can be great if you do right by people. You just cannot trample upon people and then expect to do it. The Bible tells us to seek forgiveness. If we do wrong to someone, you seek forgiveness and you recompense that man. And so reparations will be recompense for the wrongs done.
Yeah, Judge Moore, I think that's so. I'm so glad you're bringing up the issue of reparations, because I think that it's such a big one, right? It's like it's recognizing the historical impact that slavery has had on an entire group of people, an entire group of marginalized people, and it's this kind of concept of just taking us out of just one person only being responsible for the things that have happened in their lifetime, but just recognizing that context is everything. I'm so glad you're addressing that. But like, in addition to that, and all the other work you're doing around the policy nationally, around changing how you're adjudicating at the local level, what is the world that you want, like 20 years from now? I always say this is a marathon, not a sprint, right? Mm-hmm. And like, I think that too, having been working on this for such a long time. And so, what do you want to see the world look like 20 years from now with all the work that we're collectively doing to change it?
I want it to be a society where anyone, regardless of the color of their skin, has an equal success at the American dream, no matter their station in life. I want everyone to have an equal opportunity at living the American dream and being successful, no matter if you're born to a Black parent, a white parent, a married parent, a single parent, a gay parent, a straight parent. I want everyone to have the same shot at success. There should not be some arbitrary barriers to success based on one station in life. And so I was born to a single mother. No one would have ever predicted my life would have turned out like it has. And people encouraged my mother at 18 years of age when she got pregnant to have an abortion. And so while I'm a Democrat, was a Democrat before I became a judge, and I have to be nonpartisan, I do believe that life is so very important, and people never know who or what they are bearing. And so if they choose to keep the child, that child can become something great. And so I think my mom's example will go far. I'm going to talk about it in my book that's coming out this month. I talk about her having a choice of making an abortion and having an abortion, and she deciding against her friend's advice to have me. And so I'm so grateful to be here, and I'm going to try to change the world. And so I have big dreams. I'll run for office one day, but I've never wanted to be a career politician. I want to do things in the real world. And if I can have a greater effect on the country, I'll run for public office, but I don't want to be there 30 years. I want to get in there, do what I'm going to do, make some policy changes, and come back out to the real world.
Please talk to us about your book, Judge Moore. Please, I'd love for you to share to our audience about your upcoming book.
Yeah, the book is called Five Brothers. It's called The Five Brothers: Our Journeys to Successful Careers in Law and Medicine. So it's me and four other individuals. All of us are African Americans. We are not blood brothers, but we are brothers by bond. And 3 are lawyers. One's a judge and a lawyer, and then the other is a physician. And so we talk about our various careers. 2 grew up in our various journeys, actually, and all the obstacles we had to clear to become the professionals that we are today. 2 grew up in New York, 1 grew up in California, I grew up in Mississippi, and the other grew up in Jamaica. And I can guarantee you, once you read the stories, it will bring tears to your eyes to know that we persevered through so much to become successful. And we're trying to just let everyone know that if we could do it, they can do it too, because there was nothing that would have predicted that any of us would have become successful. And young guys need to know that paths to success include more than becoming an entertainer or a ball player. You can actually use your head. You don't have to use your brains all the time. Use your brains as well. You can live just as well as anyone. And so one of the brothers was a victim of police brutality himself. And so he persevered. He got in some trouble because of that and ended up dropping out of law school, getting put out of law school, had to be readmitted 2 years later. He finally finished. And now he's fighting the battle because of some things on his record. Even though he's passed the New York bar and the Florida bar, he has still not been given his license. And so I'm going to use my position as president of the national bar to try to make sure he gets his license in those states because I don't believe, as you heard before, I believe in second chances, and I don't think he's done anything worthy of not practicing law. And so the other grew up one of the ones in Jamaica grew up very poor. No one would have ever expected him to become a physician, but he's one of the leading physicians in Las Vegas now. And so it's just a tale of triumph over adversity. And so it'll be out on November the 17th, and we're going to go on tour virtually and hopefully next year in person and spread the word that they can do it too.
I love it. I hope you guys come out with an audio version. I really do. I'd love to hear. I'd love to hear the stories actually told by the 5 brothers. I know you guys are all very busy individuals, but I'd love to hear the passion that comes out of your voice, because that's what you're filled with, is so much passion.
Okay. And I know we're gonna have an e-version and a hard copy, but I would talk to the guys. I think we can do an audio version. That's something that needs to be done, and so I will look to do that.
Yeah, I think what I'm getting is this, no matter what gets thrown at you, at the entire community of Black people in this country, voter suppression, starting with slavery, voter suppression, no matter what gets thrown, you're human beings who continue to fight and persevere. And it's time for the rest of us to help, right? That's where the reparations come in. But it's like we're all on an even playing field, mm-hmm. and that's we need everyone to understand that. And slowly but surely we're getting there. Your work is, making that happen in so many amazing ways. And I just want our audience to know that, right? Like it's, nothing is going to stop you. And that, I think we're seeing that with this election. There's certainly a minority group of people trying to keep others from casting their vote, and they're still coming out and casting their vote. And so I can't thank you enough, Judge Moore, for your insight. All the work you're doing is just so incredible. I encourage everybody to go out and follow you. And as you move into your president role for the National Bar Association, I'm just amazed. I can't wait for the changes to come. And so thank you for being our first guest in the middle of this election, and what, just kind of guiding us through what to expect, but also like just guiding us to understanding the good that's coming, I think is what I'm excited about. So thank you very much for being on the show.
Well, thanks for having me, Yubi. It's just been a pleasure to speak with you guys and lady. And as you said, nothing beats a failure but a try. And if Biden pulls this out, this is Biden's 3rd time running. I mean, he could have easily given up and said, I'm not going to run for president. I've run twice and lost. Why run a 3rd time? And similar to myself, I had to run 3 times to become president of the National Bar Association. But as a law student, my first year of law school, I said I would become the president of the National Bar Association. And come hell or high water, if I had to run 15 times, I was going to become president. And so I had to run 3 times, even though I lost by 1 vote the first time. I picked myself up, dusted myself off, came back again and ran. I lost convincingly the second time, but yet and still I came back a third time. The third time was the charm, and I won convincingly. And so if you never ever give up, you will eventually win. And so tomorrow, I think it will be a new day. We will learn. I do believe that Joe Biden has won the presidency of the United States on his 3rd try, and that's pretty much unheard of. It's unheard of in the National Bar Association. No one has ever won on their 3rd try. If you didn't win on the 2nd try, it was pretty much over with. But if you never ever give up, and it's been a saying, if at first you don't succeed, try again. But some people, they may try again, but they're not going to try again. And so that's not just a saying, it's real.
Right.
So,
Love it.
Love
all
it.
right.
Thank you so much, Judge Moore.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you,
Yeah,
Nina.
thank you, Judge. Appreciate it. Appreciate you taking the time for us. This has been great.
Yeah. All right. Y'all take care.
And thank you to all of our listeners too for joining us. As usual, you can continue to hear more voices from all walks of life on chooseinclusion.com. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and we will see you all next time.
Take care, everybody.
Bye, guys.